This small garden, in the heart of a British city, is home to naturalist and wildlife filmmaker Martin Dohrn. Martin's inventions have transformed the way we can see the world, especially the world of small creatures.
It feels as if I've been a wildlife filmmaker for centuries, but actually I think it's only a couple of decades. I've been lucky enough to film pretty much every kind of animal: lions, monkeys, eagles, butterflies, and quite a lot of insects, a lot of ants. Over the years I've invented, designed, hastily constructed many different devices for filming insects and small creatures, and they all rely on very tiny lenses on a camera with a very small chip size. What that gives us is a perspective that is utterly different from the world in which we normally live. I mean, it kind of makes the world sort of 50 times the size that we perceive it to be, which means that this garden here is more like a kind of 10 square kilometers of unexplored nature reserve with unknown creatures and drama and action, every bit as exciting as anything that you could see on the plains of Africa. In order to discover something new, see something new, film something new, I didn't have to go all the way to Kilimanjaro or the forests of Sumatra. I can actually just come right here in my back garden and see things no one has ever seen before, and film species that, while they are known to science, their behavior is often undescribed. For me, this is half the fun, just trying to make sense of it all. If you reduce your field of view to the very small, even a city garden like this is brimming with an astounding diversity of life. The thing that amazed me most when I started to look closely at this garden is that besides the honeybee, I've seen over 50 other species of bee. They come in almost every imaginable color. Some of them even look like wasps. Unlike the honeybee, most of the garden bees live solitary lives. Woodworm holes in the fence are perfect for the tiniest. But probably half of the bees here nest in the soil. The mining bees have a constant battle with nest thieves of all kinds. But the owners usually win, because in nature too, possession is 9/10 of the law. The wasp-like cuckoo bees are a more serious threat, but they spend their days searching for burrows of the mining bees in which to lay their own eggs. She can only find the rough location of the nest by scent, by wafting air over her antennae. To get the exact position, the cuckoo bee has to wait for a mining bee to reveal herself as she leaves to gather pollen, and follow her. At first, the mining bee acts confused, as if she knows she's being tailed. But then, quite often, the cuckoo bee will land as if she's pretending to be a leaf, perhaps so as not to draw attention to herself. When the mining bee thinks the coast is clear, she goes to her burrow, closely watched by the cuckoo bee. Now all the cuckoo bee has to do is wait for the mining bee to leave again before she can lay her own egg in the burrow unchallenged. The problem with insects or any small creature isn't just one of physical scale, it's one of time scale. Some insects have been shown to perceive events 10 times as fast as we do. And so when something happens in the insect world, it's just a blink of an eye to human senses. The only way for us to actually reveal what's actually going on is to use slow motion photography. Slow motion brings out the comedy of male bees as they desperately search for mates. Just trying to focus on a bee darting around, especially a male that's rapidly trying to locate the female of his choice, it's almost impossible. Here I'm filming at 250 frames a second, which is slowing life down 10 times. I have a chance, but still my difficulty is having the bee in the frame. To help with this, we've built this thing called a megascope, which has a wide-angle lens on the end of it, but away from the camera so the whole thing doesn't threaten the bee. It can focus very quickly and it's much easier to have it pointing in the right direction. The female, she uses this patch of flowers for nectar mostly, and that's where the male is waiting for her. He patrols up and down here and he attacks anything that vaguely resembles the female. He's easy to distinguish because he looks more bee-like, he's kind of brown. And the female is actually a beautiful velvet black. When he sees the female, his first task is to hover in front of her, and it's almost as if he's displaying to her to say, you know, hello, look, I'm this cool, I can hover, look at the way I can hover. And she, as far as I can tell, invariably just ignores him. Eventually, he jumps on her. And I've never actually seen a male court a female successfully. I've only ever seen his efforts rebuffed. And the female flying away as quickly as she can. People say the most important thing about photography is to be in the right place at the right time. But for small creatures, that's extremely difficult. That's why we built FrankenCam. We called it FrankenCam because it's an unholy alliance of bits of other machines all tied together and a few specially designed circuit boards. To make the images, we borrowed a camera from a microscope, we got some optics from the 70s and coupled them with a lens from a webcam. Well, the result is that FrankenCam can glide into position without frightening anything and can wait as long as it takes, or until it rains. As an example of the kind of drama that you can find just by flying in between the leaves a bit, today I saw a wolf spider carrying its babies on its back. We have hundreds of wolf spiders here, but I've never actually been able to see it in close-up. Today, quite a few females allow us to get very close with the lens, but they also just allowed us to kind of float among them and watch what they were doing, which is mostly just basking to give their babies some warmth. Scorpions do exactly the same thing, but in Britain we don't have scorpions, so it's fantastic to be able to find creatures, even though they're only tiny, they're only 3 or 4 millimeters long, these spiders, but it's wonderful to see such complex behavior in such allegedly simple animal. FrankenCam also gives us the means to go deeper into the undergrowth, and there we can find another range of animals. In close-up from the side, woodlice look utterly different from how we normally see them from above. We managed to get a special medical endoscope on Frankencam, and we've been able to actually drive it under a flower pot to see what they do. Most of the time, woodlice eat rotting leaves, but sometimes they'll feed on the odd dead animal, even if it's their own kind. They seem to use their front legs in a way that's more rodent-like than primitive crustacean-like. It could be that we've underestimated woodlice, we've just ignored them for so long, but for me, they are truly the stars of the dark, damp corners of the garden. A garden like this at just 10 by 30 meters can be, if you look closely, if you look in amongst the plants, can become a really quite large nature reserve with all kinds of incredible behaviors and rare events happening every day, just waiting for someone to have a look.